And welcome back. We're with the Talk Box tonight. We're talking about remembering, preserving Oregon's military history. There's this big renovation happening right now with the Oregon Military Museum down in Clackamas. Tracy Thoennes is the museum's director. She's joined by Colonel B.J. Prendergast with the Oregon National Guard. Got that right?
Yep.
Yeah, and John Thayer, the son of General James B. Thayer, who the museum will be named after. So thank you, all of you, for coming. We've said this before, but there's just so much to talk about already with this. So number one for you, we're going to talk about the museum itself and sort of what is the goal already that you've been wanting to do with the museum?
Well, first off, thank you, Abby, for having us. We really appreciate it. And the museum is going to honor and commemorate and celebrate the hundreds of thousands of Oregonians who have served their country both abroad and at home. It'll be a broad range, all branches of service, and we have an outstanding collection that really quantifies Oregon's military legacy.
Which is huge, and you said you've got about 2 years worth of renovations still to do. What's the big thing that you want to be able to add for our community?
We will be quadrupling our exhibit space and having all kinds of educational programs that will bring in new audiences so they can learn and understand a little better the military history of Oregon.
Right, that's huge. Yeah. Okay, Colonel, first off, thanks for your service.
Thank you.
We honor you today. Tell me a little more from a soldier's perspective what a museum like this would be able to do.
Well, what it does is it tells our story. You know, I think that's the biggest thing, especially since 9/11, is Oregonians, the sons and daughters of the state, have gone over and served independent of what branch they're in. And those stories should be told and need to be told to kind of keep that alive. I think that's one thing that we kind of saw after the Second World War. As that generation got a little bit older, we didn't necessarily have that ability to tell those stories. So a museum of this type will really tell those stories not only for the present, but for the future, and like, for example, my children and their next generation, to truly understand the sacrifices that people have done and have made in their service.
And what's the exhibit you're looking forward to the most?
Oh, I think that the small arms exhibit is one of the best west of the Mississippi, and I'm really excited to see that because it's never really fully been displayed.
This is you're getting me very excited. I'm sure everyone at home is excited too. So now we'll talk about it with you. You know, your father is the one that's being named after for this museum. What a huge honor. And tell us a little more about the service that he did.
Well, my dad is not atypical of the citizen soldier of Oregon, really. He grew up in a small town in rural Oregon. He graduated from the University of Oregon and was interrupted during his education by going to war in Europe. He entered the service as a buck private, and he led a mine platoon throughout Western Europe and eventually ended up in a small town outside of Wels, Austria with his platoon. And during one of the reconnaissance missions, they discovered a concentration camp, a German concentration camp called Lager. And so it was kind of an eye-opener for my dad to have that experience and really liberated a camp and basically saved thousands of lives during that episode, during the war.
That is absolutely incredible. And we have this amazing backstory that goes even more so than just that. There was a special person that he rescued there that ended up in a whole new way for your life. Please tell us a little more about that.
My brother Tommy is the lead guitarist for the rock band Kiss. And Gene Simmons, who is the leader of Kiss, founder and leader of Kiss, his mother and her family were victims of the Holocaust. Actually, she survived. She was a 14-year-old Hungarian Jew, but the rest of her family, with the exception of, I believe, her brother, perished in a concentration camp in southern Austria. And there's speculation that the camp that she survived was the camp, the Lager camp, that my father helped liberate in May of 1945. So it's kind of an interesting connection.
A very
kind
interesting
of a small
connection.
World, story, but nonetheless, very meaningful. And we're, as a family, we're very honored that my father is being honored with the tribute of naming the museum. And that's an interesting sidebar to the story.
It is, but what a great tribute to your father's work as well. Thank you, all three of you. I told you it would go by too fast. There's so much to talk about here, but thank you to all three of you for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. And again, thank you for your service.